Galacurci, Ezio Pinza, De Luca used this technique. In the present day, a number of the foremost opera singers use this technique. In other words, in the days of the golden age of singing, there were not only 3 great tenors, there were 33 great tenors.
33 great tenors. All right, sorry that got cut off a little bit, but welcome back to the New School Singer, to Mr. Opera, I guess, and also New School Singer. And we're looking at some bullshit today with the famous, what's his name? Edward L. Johnson. So I thought we'd watch a little bit of this. And we've got a bunch of things queued up that we can watch as we see fit, and we'll end this when I see fit, I guess. And we've got, as usual, our 2 chats from This Is Opera and from the Mr. Opera side, the Montagues and the Capulets, if you will. And I'm just trying out some new features that I made for the show. So we're gonna see how those work out. I'm trying to condense the show a little bit, make it shorter, and have different sections. So let's do some bullshit, Inspector. Hey, greetings, Christopher. We're watching this introduction to Bel Canto. Let's just get on with it. I think we can watch this one without worrying too much about copyright, but I'm not sure. Anyway,
Bel Canto in Italian
I'll try to just keep saying
singing.
stuff.
This technique was used by most of the great singers at the turn of the century in the era known as the Golden Age of singing.
33.
Singers such as Caruso, Tetrazzini, Melba, Galacurci, Ezio Pinza, De Luca used this technique.
All these great singers.
In the present day, a number of the foremost opera singers use this technique. In other words, in the days of the golden age of singing, there were not only 3 great tenors, there were 33 great tenors.
So this is this kind of name-dropping tradition, I guess. This is part of the grift. But you know, the grift changes over the years, and it's fun to check in on these kind of earlier ones, because you know, it's like it's out of fashion, so you can see a little bit more what he's doing, that he's just naming just everybody, like just everybody famous. There's no standard at all that decides, you know, why a famous singer gets on the list. It's just like, it's literally every name he's thinking of right off the top of his head. And this was the same thing David Jones was doing in all of his, you know, in his Swedish Italian thing. That isn't any different. It's just the same. Like, everyone famous you can think of, you drop that name. But that's got a name, the technique, and it's called name dropping. Oh, and it's bullshit. But we need to reset the count here. So we get one more screaming goat, even though he just bullshitted us only once. Let's move this along a little bit.
Technique
I'm told I
is based
ramble
upon
too much.
excellent breath control, full resonation of the sound,
And
is a more relaxed and natural approach to the act of
We're gonna
singing.
see some contrast with some other teachers we're gonna look at. I guess we can say teachers. I don't know what we want to call them. But anyway, commentators. Yeah. It's interesting we have this, you know, relax and release thing, and then some others saying don't relax and release, and this New York school, I guess, that seemed to have taken over the whole world of vocal pedagogy is this basically, this relax and release. And it's funny how outlandish this is, but in the end, nothing this guy's going to teach you is going to be any different from what Ingo Titsa is probably going to teach you in his studio.
There is no crash
Ingo
course
Titsa being famous, super famous, published voice scientist.
in learning this technique. This technique will require a great deal of time, perseverance, and effort on
So set them up right away for extended study. Just mention it, you know. Could be true, but also worth noting that it does serve the interest of someone who would like to be doing this as a job. That is the only job that they do. You know, a division of labor kind of thing.
Singer to learn it. The technique involves excellent breath control, resonation, and a natural approach to singing.
What is
now you have to
resonation? There's this weird thing where it's like so there's this word like to resound, like to be resonant, and it's like poetic, and it's got nothing to do with the scientific idea of resonance. But what bullshitters will often do is use the two interchangeably when it suits them. They'll do this kind of false equivalence or substitution of the one for the other, and they hope you don't notice that they changed they completely changed what they're talking about. And they hoped that you substituted the one for the other, but they maybe never literally said that this is so.
remember that you are using a human instrument. This instrument is invisible. You can't see it. If you play the piano or the violin, at least you can see what you are doing. With the human voice, you cannot see.
Yeah, so, hey, Christopher, so the thing is that without knowing the ins and outs of all those other singers, though, you can ask yourself if he gave any kind of evidence or reason or anything to look for that would be characteristic of those students, of those singers, and then maybe some things that are not characteristic of that, and then what to look for. Like, that's what you would expect a teacher to be doing, to be showing you, the key things that they're looking for. But this is just, I think they're trying to make you dumb.
The instrument, and to a certain extent, you cannot feel the instrument. Your ability to sing is dependent not only on having a good vocal technique, but it is also dependent upon how you feel emotionally, physically, and mentally while you are performing.
That's true.
If you are a violinist or a pianist, you may have a sore throat
If you're
or
a what?
laryngitis, but you can still play the piano or the violin.
If you're a violinist or a pianist, at least make an effort not to say penis on YouTube. What's funny about this is violinists and pianists also have to think about performance psychology. And what's also funny about this is that although he should have a good point, violinists and pianists can also have physical, like for instance, they could have rheumatism, rheumatoid arthritis or something, or anyway, some kind of inflammation of the joints that's going to affect their performance in the way that he's talking about. The way New School Singing said, kind of explains this or covers this, is that is by saying it's not an instrument. Like, that's actually what he meant to say, that the voice isn't an instrument. But saying it's not an instrument then takes away some of the psychological tricks that a guy like this is going to be using. Oh, you can see, I can just take you away, man. You don't worry about crowding the screen. I can just whoop. Now you're gone.
But if you have laryngitis or a sore throat or allergies or whatever,
and I can also
these indispositions are going to show up in the singing voice. Now, this technique has to be approached with a positive attitude. Positive thinking enables your mind to open up and accept ideas and to involve things which may appear at the first time difficult.
Okay, so that's a fun one. So, difficult. I think he meant to say positive thinking is going to be a way to get your brain to accept things that are bullshit. Because he's going to bullshit. He's going to bullshit the hell out of you. Difficult. They're difficult to for a rational mind to accept because they're irrational. Whoops. Yeah, here we are. Okay.
Time you will be able to accomplish. 3 things should happen when you persist in this technique and learn how to use it. First of all, the quality of your voice should improve immeasurably.
Immeasurably!
Because of proper resonation and the proper use of the breath.
Oh man, I can feel, it's like, when he says that, it's like I can feel myself just, oh God, I'm measurable. It's like, what? Immeasurably improving, isn't that, it's like, because it's not happening, it's not measurable, basically.
Voice should build in size, again, because of proper resonation and the proper
your
use.
voice should build in size because of proper resonation. I mean, as I've explained in visualizing vocal resonance series that I'm doing, resonance, if we're talking about like actual resonance, isn't everything. I mean, it is, and it is because it can help affect the source, but actually the source is everything, and then resonance is like, it's a multiplier of what you got. But what you've got is the source, is what's coming out of your vocal folds. I mean, it's both. It's both put together. So it's asinine to say that it's all resonance or to say that it's all source. It's clearly something, it's clearly a way to make sound that depends on both, and also a relationship between the two. So yeah. That's ridiculous.
Of the breath. And your voice should also eventually, over a period of time, extend to the natural range of 2 octaves.
To the
Hi folks, Craig
Whoa,
Sirianni
fuck.
here.
I mean,
Craig
oh
Sirianni,
crap.
vocal studio.
Natural range of 2 octaves doesn't seem like. I mean, that doesn't seem like that much. I mean, it's that's what most like classical I guess voice Fox. They're Fox. Most job descriptions are gonna have two octaves. So I mean, you need them. But
Control,
yeah.
resonation, and a natural approach to singing. Now you have to remember that you
So breath control, resonation, and a natural approach. You know, this is like, so he's where James Randi was like,
what he can do, under what circumstances, with what accuracy.
okay, so that was James Randi, who I now have queued up. You know, if he was, so when you're trying to figure out if someone can even do something that they're claiming to be able to do, you're trying to learn those things. And the language this guy's using is putting that out of reach, and I think it's on purpose, so it's bullshit. It's just bullshit. I mean, it's also like non-things. Resonation and a natural approach. When is it going to be natural?
are using a human instrument.
But
This
as we'll see,
instrument
like I'm not
is
the only
invisible.
one
You can't see it.
who can
If
figure
you
these
play the
things
piano
out.
or the violin, at least
Well, let me see what. Hi, Ra, and welcome. Yeah, Ra. So that's interesting, but actually, if you sing into a microphone, although that's I mean, I'm definitely using one right now, and not all recordings, but all recordings after like the wax recordings were made with microphones. But resonance still is going to change what kind of results you get, like what kind of sounds that you make. Yeah. So yeah, it definitely matters. It's just that it's not like what he's saying. It's not like there's no like magic, I don't know, relax and release and magic resonance is going to come into your body and you're somehow going to sound like really loud and powerful, even though you never did anything that seemed unnatural or that seemed difficult. It's just stupid. But yeah. So what you can see is that he's not so subtly in this case, but he's just putting himself in charge of deciding when something will happen, when something happened, and that something is basically meaningless. So he's the only one who can ever tell you. And then, of course, it's going to be like, the better I am at making these things happen that don't exist, then the more I should get paid. That's the important part.
You can
pay me.
see what you are doing. With the human voice, you cannot see the instrument, and to a certain extent, you cannot feel the instrument.
That's true.
Your ability to sing is
but
dependent
you can develop that feeling, actually,
not only on having a good vocal technique, but it is also dependent upon how you feel emotionally, physically, and mentally while you are performing.
Oh yeah, we already covered this.
Now this technique has to be approached with a positive attitude.
With
Positive thinking enables your mind to open up and accept ideas and to involve things
You
which
guys
may
are-
appear
I don't know if
at
you
the
guys are
first,
allowed to talk to each other.
time difficult, but
I don't
which
know.
through time you will
Better
be
check
able
the
to
YouTube community
accomplish.
standards.
3 things should happen when you persist in this technique and learn how to use it. First of all, your voice should build in size, again, because of proper resonation and the proper use of the breath.
Right, and we know
And
the
your
history.
voice
It's
should
like
also eventually, over a
people
period
doing
of
this did
time,
not wind up
extend to the natural range of
being
2
particularly
octaves.
powerful.
You
next
have to
generation,
approach this
in the next-
technique with the idea that it is going to take time. You have to give it the time. You have to have a lot of persistence and perseverance.
All right, so
in
we
order
got
to
the basics
master
here.
This technique. If you do, you will unleash the full power
Unleash.
of your voice.
Okay, so obviously we'll see more of these.
Hi, folks. Craig Sirianni here. Craig Sirianni.
So
Local
let's hear
Studios.
a little bit
Today we're
about
going to have another video continuing in the
a
series
different approach.
of unveiling the secrets of the Lomonico technique.
And then
I saved
this
this
is going to
one
be interesting
purposely for
because
its own video because I think it deserves one. Today's video is on
I'm
tongue
more
positioning
sort
and
of
tongue placement. Before we get to that, though, just like all the other videos,
in agreement
I wanna
with a lot
please
of
remind
things this
everybody
guy
out there
says.
who's paying for any vocal instruction, always ask
So it makes a lot
for a resume of experience.
of good
I'm
points.
getting nonstop calls from tenors out there who want to work, which is a wonderful thing. And the stories they tell me about what they're asked to do by teachers who have never stepped foot on stage, who've never used, don't even teach the same technique that they sing with, and some teachers can't sing at all. These are all the stories.
Well, I
I'm
mean,
getting from
what if
students
I'm
that are calling
teaching-
me. So, folks, please
What if I'm teaching like
always remember that if you're asking somebody to teach you a
soprano
vocal technique and they
or a
have
mezzo?
not
I
taken
mean,
that technique
how are you defining
to
using the
a
same
successful
technique?
career, then there's probably a reason why.
Well,
they haven't.
what we'll see is
So please keep
that
in mind. Always ask for a
Craig
resume.
Craig has
My
some
resume
fun
is
with
available
definitions
online.
sometimes.
It's on my website, craigsirianni.com. You can feel free to take a look at it.
But I think
Look
he's
at all
got a
my
lot
history.
of really great ideas.
Now,
Or,
we were talking
or at
a
least
little bit last time
he
about
brings up a lot of good
almost
points.
in every video, I kind of readdress the idea that there are so many few. There's so few teachers out there that are actually teaching
Oh God,
this
okay.
kind of technique. You know, where are all the big tenors, the big sounds, the big round full
Stop,
release
just
sounds.
get on with it.
There was nobody
It's
really
worse than I
teaching
am.
this when I was studying with Tom, but
Well, I
we
should
also have
take it.
another factor to consider today, and that is that, again, in this society, we tend to think very, very fast. And back in the day, it was nothing for me to spend 4 years in Tom's studio, or 5 years until he actually... That's not to say...
Okay.
But it does speak to the
Try to
idea
get to the
that
good part here.
there were a lot of tenors that Tom trained that probably would have been on their way to having a great career had they stayed. The idea behind this technique is that
I don't know. I mean,
it flies in the face of that concept of, well, singing should feel easy, should feel
Okay,
natural.
so
Now,
this is
harmonica
what we
does
needed
feel
to get
easy,
to.
but only after you've trained it for a while, just like
So
bench press.
Craig is basically Sirianni here is saying that there's a kind of opposite school. So and then my question is like, is it really an opposite school? And what's going on? Like, can you really sort it out by listening to either Craig's side, if you will, or this other side that we were hearing from? And I think if we're going back to the whole Meloki history thing, and so Meloki versus I want to say Douglas Stanley, but then now it gets weird because this guy's teacher was a student of Douglas Stanley. But I'm not sure that any of Douglas Stanley's concepts are actually being used in reality. Any of the actual instructions that he gives. I think those are actually more found in speech level singing. They're actually found in this first video that we're looking at. Shall we say the regular Relax and Release New York School is more following what Douglas Stanley said. And then this stuff is, I think, more in the direction of Meloki, what Meloki was doing. It's trying to get fuller density, more metallic sounds for tenors.
Pressing at the gym, I'm sure it feels easy to some of these guys. Yeah, Lamonico does feel easy, but only easy should feel natural. Now, Lamonico does feel easy, but only after you've trained it for a while, just like bench pressing at the gym. I'm sure it feels easy to some of these guys after they've been doing it for 20 years.
I'm pretty sure.
The idea is.
So this to me is like the nature of Craig Sirianni, is that he says some things that make a lot of sense, and then he just says things like bench pressing must feel easy to people who have been bench pressing for many years. But like the whole point is that they keep making the weight heavier. Well, and then also they're getting older, so it's like it never, it's not like bench pressing ever gets easy. If it is, you just make it heavier. Now it's hard again. Anyway, but that's progressively overloading. But his point there is one I really agree with. So like, I don't know, true. I think that when you're good at a coordination, at a vocal coordination, even if it was maybe effort on your way there, or especially when it wasn't trained very well, then that doesn't mean that it's always going to be awkward and effort like that. If 90% of the effort is from being awkward, then you can expect that to go down. So I totally agree with what he's saying here. And these unnatural ways of articulating start to get natural at about the same pace, I would say, that learning a new language starts to get more natural. It stops feeling like just sounds and movements and starts feeling like language.
It takes dedication, patience, determination. The voice will develop, but you have to allow it a certain amount of time for that to happen. I get calls all the time. You know what? What's the trick? Just give me the secret so I can go out and sing like that on stage. Folks, the secret is there is no secret. The secret is, again, training, dedication, patience, and time.
I think that's all true. But where I really differ from Craig Sirianni is that a lot of his messaging about this also includes messaging from the previous video, which is all about maximizing, how much you come for lessons and stuff. And I'm not sure that just because it takes time means all of that time needs to be spent in weekly voice lessons. Let me explain. I think that although this hasn't been studied, I have no studies that I can point to say, this is definitely true. Your vocal folds need to get stronger if you want to make bigger sounds. To some extent, you can just get, in the short term, make big improvements. It's true. But if you're looking for big fundamental changes to your voice, you're going to need changes to the vocal folds, and probably the place you can make the biggest changes is in the ligament, not in muscle. Yeah, muscles can get stronger, and that doesn't take as long. And coordinations can get stronger, and that takes time because it's essentially all about learning and building, something, the connections in the brain, etc. But when it comes to the actual tissue, if it's ligament that you're trying to build, then it would make sense that it takes longer than muscle. It doesn't grow at the rate you would expect if you're trying to grow muscle and train muscle. If you're trying to train ligament, then instead of starting to see changes after 24 hours of when you first train. So if you get off the couch and you do some strength training, after 24 hours, and if you're older, after 48 hours, you're already seeing changes. But not to the ligament. You're seeing changes in, the brain connections. You're seeing changes in the muscles a lot faster than you start seeing them in the ligament. Christopher, yeah, I don't know if I think the musculature around area of interest 3, well, Craig's going to show some, actually, some related musculature that I don't think it takes that long to train it. As far as strength, and there's probably not that much more strength that has to be built up. Maybe some range of motion. I don't know, because these kind of extreme mouth openings and stuff make it hard to articulate. And if one of the parts inside the vocal tract is now like at the end of its range of motion, it tries to move and it disturbs surrounding things. That's another element of things feeling easier or harder, is when you're able to move things in isolation. That's often just due to more skill and practice. But that's going to make things less effortful feeling, because you're just more organized about your movement.
Maybe a few of you tenors out there have watched some of these videos. Maybe you've already started to implement some of the work that I've been talking about. The breathing, the jaw positioning, and perhaps you're still wondering, well, this sounds
we'll watch some of those.
And I can tell you why it's not. Your tongue is in the wrong place. I'm just going to come right out and say it. Now, how many singers out there everybody, you've all heard this before, I'm sure you have, through school, chorus, even at the university level. How many times have we heard, now, when you sing all of these pitches, you have to have your tongue resting comfortably on the bottom part of your mouth with the tip all the way forward, touching the bottom of your teeth. I'm just going to come right out and say it.
Yeah, I was told that by David Jones. That's a common kind of New York thing. That's also, isn't that in Douglas Stanley? I'll have to take a look.
Does not work. It's wrong. I'm sorry, it just is. Now, has it been wrong for everybody? Have people made careers singing this way? Sure. Have they been able to make great sounds with it? Yeah. But in my way of thinking, it's not because they had their tongue pushed way forward. It's in spite of the fact that they had the wrong tongue positioning. They were still able to make a great sound.
So I think this is really important because, well, we'll see in his demonstrations. I think his disagreement with other people could be really improved if the language weren't so if the language in singing weren't bullshit. So what is he talking about when he says tongue? The tongue is massive, and basically it's able to affect everything from very close to area of interest 3, so that's the beginning of the vocal tract. And actually, I do have, let's see. Oops. Let's see if I can get this up. No, maybe not. Yeah. Okay, so I've got pink trombone up here. But I don't think I can interact with it. Let's see. Probably I can just... Yeah, I think I can. 1 second, guys. Okay. So... I'll get the voice. Can you guys hear this? I'll check the chat. Well, hopefully you guys can hear this. I'll check if I have. Okay, I don't think I have audio on here, do I? All right. All right, guys. I'll try to get that feature fixed. Just move on to a different. Oh my God! Now it's still going. 1 second, guys. All right, I think I got it sorted. Yeah, I wasn't able to get that. Working. I'll have to fix that so that you guys can hear. But I was trying to show where these areas of interest cross paths with something you could call the tongue, or that could be affecting one or more area of interest, and then the person is calling it the tongue. They're saying well, look, I moved my tongue and it changed the sound like that. But if I translate that into new school singing, into, let's see, knowledge from new school singing, then I'm thinking about what is happening to these different areas of interest. Area of interest number 3, near the larynx, if I'm doing what Craig is going to show and what he calls tongue retraction. If I'm doing tongue retraction and I'm squeezing area of interest number 3, I'm constricting it. Whether or not I see something happening in the front of my mouth is not really relevant if we're talking about area of interest number 3. So what's happening in area of interest number 3? And the reason we want to think about that area is because there's certain acoustic features that are really just tied to this area near the larynx. Nowhere else are you getting the kind of effects that you get, especially to the airflow, that you get when you change how narrow area of interest number 3 is. When you change that, you may or may not be seeing also movement in the front of your mouth, in your tongue, or even maybe your jaw is cooperating with your tongue, and that's helping you get this squeeze in there. And maybe to do a different vowel, you have to contort yourself into some pretty crazy positions in order to get something like vowel and something like articulation, plus changing the pitches that you're in the way that you're trying to change, and the overall vocal coordination that you're trying to get. So all of that stuff is going on, and when you're moving your tongue, you might be moving the front of it and the back of it. You might be moving the back of it in the opposite direction from the front of it. You know, you might be compressing the whole thing. And you might be causing an acoustic interaction that's, I guess we could say, more simple. A simple acoustic interaction is like what's going on at area of interest number 3. It's not all that simple. It's just that you're making this squeeze and it makes your sound louder. And that squeeze doesn't need to be tuned to any kind of fancy timbre or any kind of, special tuning or anything. There's like nothing, the whole thing that I do with the overtones and stuff, that doesn't matter when it comes to twang and when it comes to like your whole chest range. Doesn't matter. The whole middle of the voice. That matters, I guess, higher up. After F4. And I guess in that range, then you can have on top of this kind of simple acoustic interaction, this kind of more fancy, shall we say. We can say there's fancy and simple acoustic interaction. I think Ingo Tietze says type 1 and type 2. And the simple one is mostly just about making twang.
I would prescribe for everybody? No, not at all. Not when you understand how the retracted tongue works and what it does for you. Now, of all the Lamonico, of all the aspects of Lamonico,
I think that's a shame.
This one was probably...
To me, that's a shame, is that he doesn't seem to have an acoustic a good acoustic understanding of what is this whole tongue retraction thing. Lamonaco was getting it from Douglas Stanley, and unfortunately, Douglas Stanley was a poser. Douglas Stanley was just pretending, completely just pretending to know science. Hey, Anbo. Oh, geez, I don't know how to do tones in your language, so I'm not even going to try to pronounce your name. But welcome. So tongue out for high note. What do I think about it? I don't know. Are we talking about a tenor, or what? I'm going to agree with what. Pretty much agree with what Sirianni is going to be talking about here, where he's going to have the tongue. He's not going to put it in this language, but he's going to use narrowing of area of interest number 5 when he wants to brighten the vowel, so to get like eh or eh kind of sound. And then if the note happens to be high, you could say, someone might say your tongue is sticking out. But then if they gave you a different vowel, if they gave you like oh or ah on that same note, then you're not going to have your tongue out. I'll explain in a minute why
the
I
most
think
misunderstood and therefore the most controversial. I know Tom
why
took
these
a
things
lot of
get
heat for this
become
in
arguments.
New York, from other teachers, a lot of criticism. But guess what? All Tom's tenors were at the Met. The other teachers, not so much.
Well, so that's bullshit. If you take Tom Lamonaco and you give him all, the people that he gets to teach are just the collection of normal students from some college, first year tenors from some university or whatever. He's not gonna get them to the Met. So that's this whole thing that I really hate with this and why I think all this old school garbage has to be eliminated. Is because it gets abused like this, where people are name dropping like this, and teachers are able to get they attract a couple good students. The students do the work, and then the teachers turn that into a reputation for the teacher. That's stupid. The teacher didn't. Yeah. Anyway. There's no such thing as like a teacher who's anything like what this guy says Tom Lamonaco was doing. The reason he says Tom Lamonaco was so great is because it's useful for him if you have that kind of attitude about him. Sorry, dude, but that's why you're doing that.
So let's get down to it a little bit. Now,
hey, Anbo, I don't know how to say your name, but what are you trying to sing? Is it opera? Because probably I don't know what voice type, because if you're trying to sing loud and powerful, then speech level singing or singing success is not gonna be too helpful. They don't sound powerful. They try to carefully pick some examples that almost kind of sound powerful, but just overall nothing that they do leads to sounding powerful. And it's supposed to be healthy, but actually they're always worried about vocal problems. So I don't know how healthy it is. My way is more like what Craig is saying. It sounds a lot more dangerous and sounds loud, and not really sticking my tongue out very much for anything. But I don't worry about my vocal health. So it's not really something I care about unless I get sick. Then suddenly I care about it. But, let's watch a bit more here.
Why a separate video on tongue positioning? Well, because it's very, very important. It's incredibly important. It's also incredibly difficult to learn and to cultivate and to do. Are there exercises for this? Sure. Can I show them to you? Yeah, absolutely. Get a hold of me. Look me up on the website. My web address is there.
No, just show
email
them.
address is there. Take a look. Reach out if you'd like to.
That's kind of bullshit.
I can definitely show
them.
anyone who wants to see this.
This is kind of like a commercial.
I can definitely show anyone who wants to see this how this is done. Now,
I mean, wait. All right, yeah. If you want voice lessons, Anbo, yo, write to me there. There you go. Now I'm bullshit too, but whatever. Oh, now I can't make it go away. Wait. I'll go away. Wait, sorry guys, hang on. Oh, there we go. Yeah. But let's see. So, Ambo, I think you got to decide if you're going to sing pop or opera. And I'm not saying you can't do both, but don't do both at the same time. So, like, do one in the morning and the other one in the afternoon. Something like that. Because the goals are really different. With pop singing, you want to... You need to have all these little details, and it's for singing into the microphone. But actually, depending on what pop, like if it's rock or if you're singing live music, then you need to be loud, even for pop, because even though you have a microphone, there's the problem of feedback, and if the singer's too quiet, they have to turn up the volume and you get feedback, and that's no good. So pop singers who sing live without playback, they're loud. But opera singers are a lot louder than that. And it's not the same technique. So you'll see what Craig's doing here. It's not like, and you would not want to sing pop that way. It wouldn't sound good. You have to keep them separate. Don't cross the streams.
We've all been taught, like I said, tongue in the bottom of your mouth, tip forward. Okay, say we're in the middle voice.
I don't know why that was ever a thing.
And we want to sing an F vowel, EH. That's about the best sound you're going to get from that position. Okay, that position will not get better, it will not get louder, and when you go higher, it's going to start getting tight. Here's what Tom wanted.
I don't know what that means.
Instead of Tom wanted
It's got a lot of constriction in area of interest number 3. And also, interestingly enough, kind of,
instead
although I think he's exaggerating.
Tom wanted.
Why did he put his leg up? For support. I don't know if you've ever tried to make a video like this, but it's really hard. It's really difficult. So he's got the gain set for. I'm gonna answer the question. What's up with the audio? He has the gain set so that normal speech is, so it's like this. But then he doesn't have any kind of compression or limiter, so that when he sings loud, there's all this clipping. And the clipping is something that Tom LaMonaco, his teacher, thought helped the enhance the natural sound. What is how he put it? The natural resonance. Clipping is distortion. Distortion sounds rough, and it reminds us of the metallic sound in the voice. He's actually singing with the metallic sound, but then when there's also distortion, it makes it sound like more. It's like more badass. And then if he's got a tenor who's not sounding really good, who's not getting a hang of the metal, which wouldn't be surprising because they don't have a word for it or a concept for having metal in the sound. They don't have that, even though that's the thing they're trying so hard to do. So what they do is they have a way to fake it, and then he's using it even though he doesn't need it, but then his student is also going to get distortion on his sound when he gets loud, and that's going to make it seem like, oh, I'm really sounding badass. So that's where there's this thing makes me laugh a bit, because it's like he's got a lot of good points, but he mixes in this kind of scam kind of stuff that makes me laugh.
Now see the back of my tongue?
Now, okay, so now he lowered the larynx a bit more, which made a slightly darker sound. But he's shortening the neck with his neck, and the thing about this sound, it's what Complete Vocal Technique calls edge, and they describe it as this nasty sound, etc., etc. And it's super useful, and it's super loud, powerful. But as you may have noticed, it does not sound particularly mellow or sweet. It does not sound like a sound you would make to someone when you want to tell them, kiss me tenderly. It's not that kind of sound. So where I part ways with him is where he comes up with this being some kind of standard position or something. This is a position for when you want to be nasty and loud. It's great. And you can use nasty and loud in a lot of more circumstances than you would think. Not just, for a fight scene or something like that. Maybe even in a love duet at some point, right? But not for the quiet parts, not for the quiet and tender parts. So that's something he doesn't mention. And then he's not mentioning this whole game of trying to balance power versus beauty, and proportion and tone and stuff. And I think, unfortunately, we have some of this in there's like a Sirianni crowd, I guess, or this chest release crowd who they're right about some things, but then when that's the only way you can make something that sounds like A, you've got a problem. Everything's going to be always sounding angry. But he doesn't actually sing that way.
Here's my tongue. When I sing that note, the back of the tongue goes straight up, flies right up, touches the molars on the left side and the right side, like you're saying the word yes. You're about to start the word yes.
Yeah, so that's a high larynx. Hey, hey, hey. Not the way I tend to do things. So that's he's describing. If you go to the Complete Vocal Technique website and you ask about singing in the mode they call edge, and you listen to the examples for rock singing, etc., etc. Hey, hey, hey is really, really typically edge. It's metallic, it's loud. It's with a high larynx, and what he's doing doesn't sound particularly classical. There's a slight criticism there. That if you're really staying in the genre, you might want to think about a different sound for your something a little bit lower in the larynx, and instead of pushing the head forward, you pull it back to narrow, to shorten the vocal tract. So instead of hey, pull it back, hey, 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 and it makes a darker sound, but the vocal tract isn't that much longer. And I hope I'm not clipping here. You'll have to tell me. I've got filters on my audio, but I don't know if they're quick enough. So hopefully it's not clipping at the anyway, we'll find out.
It's not necessarily retracted so much as it's up. Okay, here's where A lives. Now you might be wondering, well, how do you sing an E vowel with your mouth all the way up?
The up that he's talking about is his larynx going up. That's what he's talking about. He's talking, so when he says his tongue, he means his larynx, more or less. And when he's talking about retraction, he's pulling back probably on the epiglottis, and that, this area at the base of the tongue. But what I prefer to talk about, well, then this is fine to talk about this. What he's giving is what I call anatomical addresses for things. So he's trying to describe things in terms of the anatomical areas, but it's confusing when it gets mixed with acoustics. So what I do is I give the acoustic address. The acoustic address is area, like if, for instance, we're retracting the tongue. To where? From where? So, but we could say we're using the tongue to try to constrict area of interest number 3, or area of interest number 4, or number 5, or even number 2. We could say that we're affecting the area of interest number 2 with the tip of the tongue, if we wanted to, for some reason, if we cared about that. And then you're clear about what it is you're saying is going on from an acoustic perspective, using an address that comes from a real acoustic theory of how we make vowels, etc., etc. So that's why those, when I have this knowledge, and when you see that in New School Singing, oh, sorry guys, I didn't mean to turn that on. Oh my God, what have I done? Sorry. Oh, I've done. 1 second, guys. Are we good? Are we good? Is this? I don't know. 1 second, guys. I'm gonna have to. Okay. Sorry. All right, that had to be fixed. I think I sang so loud that I started breaking my camera. And my camera was all like, "Oh God!" Yeah. Yeah. So we're back. Let's watch a little bit of this.
And this is one of the reasons that most people decide that this is incorrect, because they can't manage the E vowel. Once you learn how to drop your jaw, but to keep your tongue up high and sing a pure or a real E vowel, hey! That's what
that can be a lot of things. You could call that a lot of things, but pure E vowel is not one of them. I would describe that as eh, and then in this particular case, right at the end of the note, he made it a diphthong. He changed it from it to kind of more closer to E. But you know, I can hear what you did, and it doesn't. I guess Americans tend to hear what vowel you said as wherever you finished the vowel. Wherever you finished the vowel can kind of suggest what the vowel was the whole time. But in most of the languages you're singing in for opera, that doesn't work that way. You have to sing that same vowel for the whole vowel. So A doesn't work.
Hey!
So
That's what it looks like.
You can hear that there's a diphthong, and you know, the reality is you can't have fuller density metallic on this pitch and actually singing E, actually singing an E vowel. It's always going to be this I, some version of it. You can sort of do an kind of thing. So if I want to fake it, I can go but we're not doing that. And I can do a kind of and it's not as loud. It's not as powerful. So if I go more in the direction, it's going to be less loud. On this pitch, you just need to have, you can't be in E or this kind of position, or you can be like this, but not with fuller density. You wind up getting reduced density. So not my way of doing it, so not super well coordinated, but yeah, so you can do that. I think also kind of thing. Yeah, but otherwise you're stuck with kind of thing, or it doesn't. There's just no E in this mode. It's not in the mode.
So this positioning still stays the same. It always stays the same. Consider the jaw positioning a window. We make all the vowels
Except
with
it doesn't
the tongue.
stay the same. He shows different positions, and as I showed, the shape of area of interest number 1 is, well, the shape of the end of the mouth is not just affecting area of interest number 1. It's changing area of interest number 1 and number 2. So sorry to get confusing there. Changing your jaw positioning is actually changing often the length of the vocal tract length effectively.
Only, not with the jaw, the teeth, the lips. That's just a set position. Read Jerome Hines' book, Great Singers on Great Singing, and you'll see that he interviews
Yeah, I don't
all
buy
the
it.
singers.
I don't see, and that's not what we see. What we see is very specific things tied to the fact that changing even a small amount, and depending on the pitch, it's more or less, but changing the size of this opening has a lot to do with the resonances of the vocal tract. When you make this area bigger, when you make this opening bigger, or area of interest number 2 bigger, it raises all resonances. When you make it smaller, it lowers all resonances. When you start pulling back on the lips or moving the jaw around, etc., you're actually changing the length of the vocal tract, and that's when it's shortening, raising all resonances, and when it's lengthening, lowering all resonances. There's all this stuff going on. It doesn't make it not happen when you just say that it's not happening. When you say that it's just an opening, it's great that you sound great, but you're showing us different shapes and then saying they're the same shapes. And that's bullshit.
That he's with and ask them the same question. How do you make vowel sounds? And they all answer the same way. You leave your jaw alone, you set it, you leave it alone, and the tongue makes all the different vowel positions. The jaw doesn't move. E, E, A, A, O, O, E, A, O. That's just my tongue moving. Okay, that's the E position. Now, for the darker
Let's take another look. And let's listen carefully to the sound.
positions, the jaw doesn't move. E, E, A, A, O, O, E,
Okay, he did
A,
get the vowels, but he did not use the vocal coordinations that he showed us before. This is reduced, really reduced density, kind of old man sound. He moved his mouth. He's got an amazing jaw, by the way. And yeah, okay. But when you're actually trying to keep that nice constriction in area of interest number 3 and not sound like you're drunk, like you're gonna move your jaw. Yes, you need. So it's just this whole concept that it's just a window is stupid. It does have an effect on the tuning, and then but also has this window effect where when you don't have the window open, you're not gonna be making a lot of sound no matter what.
That's just my tongue moving. Okay, that's the E position. Now,
That was really rock
for the
and roll.
darker vowels, ah, which I hardly ever used, aw, o, the darker positions. Here's where the tongue does not go up, but the tongue retracts back. And this is where Tom ran into some very controversial issues with some other teachers.
Okay, so this is
Most
interesting.
teachers aren't aware of this.
It could be. I haven't really thought about this like this, but it could be when he was using brighter vowels, he was raising his larynx. and then lowering his larynx for the darker vowels, and using more side-to-side narrowing for the e and e vowels, and pushing his neck forward, and then I don't know what he was doing for the. It's interesting.
Don't understand it, and that's fine. But you cannot deny that every Lamonico tenor sounds fairly similar, and
I can deny. That's bullshit. So that's such bullshit. He sounds so different from Jerry Hadley. I mean, I prefer like the way Sirianni sings, as far as like what coordinations you're using. Obviously, Jerry Hadley is like superstar, so whatever. That whole thing that's how that is, being a superstar, etc. But Jerry Hadley used different things than him. And you watch them, it's obvious too. No.
Really, really wonderful careers. Here's what that position looks like. So, for E or E, it's up. Okay, for A or O or U, the darker position. Sorry, I just stepped down the darker position. Okay, for A or O or
we
U,
can't see
it's up.
the larynx, unfortunately.
Okay, for A or O or
angle.
U, the darker position. Sorry, I just stepped on the camera. Looks like this. Let me get a little closer.
You can almost see the hyoid going down.
Straight
so I think
back.
what he's doing here is he's pulling. I call this larynx diving, but now he's pulling the larynx down. So I think this is.
That's the sound that you're looking for. Okay, the tongue. I can't make that same sound with my tongue forward. It's a noise generator.
Right.
It just is. With my tongue forward. It's a noise generator. I can't make that same sound.
So that's bullshit. And untrue. So the reason there's no noise generator function. I'm not sure mentally how he's constructing that. It's kind of a mystery. What's happening is that if he puts his tongue in that position that he had for E, he's constricting area of interest number 5, especially. If he's also thinking the vowel E, then his brain is going to find somewhere else in his vocal tract where he can get the vowel E. So it's just adding up these areas of interest, basically. It's not exactly how it works, but more or less, it's simple addition. Plus 1 minus 0.5 plus 0.75, and by the time you get to the end, you arrive at a particular number. That's the number for that formant. Your brain works out the math. What it's got, what's left, and what those values need to be to get what you're asking for, which is some kind of vowel. So that can cause that distortion that he's talking about, that messing up of the actual source. That's what's going on. It's from asking for the E vowel. He could, or asking for the A vowel, while having his tongue in that position. He could not get that problem if he had the tongue in that position and then he asks his brain for a vowel that's still going to provide a metallic sound and fuller density, etc., etc. So when the math works out, then you can do your sound. If the math doesn't work out, you might get this kind of weird distortion or whatever because your vocal tract is struggling to make it work. So yeah, same effect for me. So if I have and I start to stick my tongue out there and think I'm gonna destroy myself. Same deal. But the explanation for it, I think, is very different in these two cases. I think his explanation is bullshit for why that's happening.
With my tongue forward, it's a noise generator. It just is. Now again, have I seen famous tenors sing like that?
I think, yeah. Anyway,
sure. But this works every time. This always works. And yes, it's very difficult to learn. It really, really is. There's very specific exercises. There's some other tools that we can use to get you to get used to the tongue rocking back. And again, this is another aspect of Lamonico that is going to feel, again, very unusual, unnatural, okay, is the word I'm looking for. And that's why I tell all the students that I work with, if you're waiting for singing, if you've bought this myth, this lie, that singing's supposed to feel natural, then you are naturally going to be unemployed. It just doesn't work that way. There's nothing natural about singing, any more than there is natural about anything else we do out there. Bowling, shooting a rifle, doesn't matter. It's all technique. You don't come out of the womb and know how to shoot a rifle. It just doesn't work that way. You have to be taught. It's the same thing with this.
Yeah.
Consider this video the second half of the one that I started with jaw. After a while, when you've been working Lamonico
a lot
technique,
of just selling his
take a breath.
thing here. Oh, here we go. It's like some singing.
Tracting, or it's going high. And I'm all set to sing a high note. That's with a retracted tongue, and that sound doesn't come from anywhere else. Remember that
it seemed like it didn't.
That's with a retracted tongue.
Didn't actually
and that sound
retract.
doesn't come from anywhere else. Remember that all of this tends to be connected. So if the tongue retracts, I've heard people say, "Oh, well, if you pull the tongue back, aren't you going to choke and block your air supply?" No, it doesn't work that way. Not at all.
That's true. That's true.
If it did, I wouldn't have been able to
way.
sing for 25 years using this technique.
Yeah, I think it's more protective,
But yes,
actually.
the tongue rocking back does not feel natural. The tongue going high in the back does not feel natural. These are cultivated positions.
I lost that spot where he was singing.
Practiced,
Let's
dragged
see if
into
there's
the
more.
music.
You can always tell when he's singing because his mouth gets huge. But a lot of this is, I might disagree with what he's saying as far as how things work. Oh,
Hi folks, Craig Sirianni here. Craig Sirianni.
oh, that's why. Okay, yeah. So I might disagree with him about why things work. But when it comes to, shall we say, like a bigger sound,
tongue positioning and tongue placement. Before we get to that, though, just like all the other videos, I want to
something like having this big open mouth position is not really negotiable. And I think like range of motion issues start to be much more important, where like stretching your jaw, for instance, before a performance.
Now, for the darker vowels,
is actually going to make a difference in your performance. Like that, a couple of like the 1 millimeter of extra range of motion is making a big difference in the quality overall for maybe not that particular joint, but for surrounding parts of the vocal tract that are trying to articulate.
Let me get a little closer. Tongue rocks straight back.
Okay. It works. No, but seriously, I think what he's talking about is really important. If you want a stronger sound, and it's not the only strong sound, but if you want like the maximum strongest sound as an operatic tenor, the most density that you can make, you need this tongue retraction thing. We can look into the anatomy more some other time or something. But yeah, so just real quick, or maybe I should leave this for tomorrow. But yeah, I'll ask you guys. You guys some suggestions for something to watch tomorrow? That would be very much appreciated. But let's see.
Quick vocal tip.
Okay,
You're
this
always
is
using your
another one. This is someone sent me this
diaphragm. Always. There's never.
over from Instagram land. This is about the diaphragm. I put a couple of his reels together so we could do a bullshit inspection.
For a moment when you're not using your diaphragm to breathe. The diaphragm is not, when people are like, okay, sing from your diaphragm and they point down.
Okay,
here.
no, we'll do this tomorrow. First, what I wanted to do now is try something out. So I've got my different backgrounds. So I can go to Bullshit Inspector and the heroes. I've got these different themes now. But it should be that if I wait, hang on a second. Okay, yeah. So you'll notice I've got these deals with knowledge and fitness and heart, these different categories, and these are elements from new school singing that I'm going to start incorporating more into this, so that we're doing a bit more productive work, I guess. And so everything we were just looking at can be classified that way. When we're talking about the tongue, for instance, we're talking specifically about the position of something. And then Craig was just demonstrating some motion of it. And then he was talking about sensations and feelings. And those would be wait. Oh, and I don't have my... Okay. So position is where in space something is, and then motion is when you put two positions together. Attitude is when you have something that you can't describe until someone else has the same experience as you. So walking, for instance, is a bunch of really complicated position and motion, but you could never describe it to someone unless they also had the experience of walking in some way. Yeah, so Christopher, I noticed the audio goes out with the triangles. I will I will fix those. Reason I did a quick live stream tonight was to try to fix all this stuff, because I really went a bit crazy with let's see if this works. No. Wait. Wait, but check it. All right, this was like my. This was supposed to be my cool attitude, position, motion, attitude. Oh, look at this cut together of things. We do exciting things with the scene cutting and everything. Yeah, what do you think? What do you guys think there? Oops. Yeah. Yeah, so it's like a peekaboo thing. Anyway, I'll try to get these improved. And then I did, well, you saw I had these, oh my god, when I want to I put these filters on for when things are crazy. Yeah. And I can do it like really slow. Really slow. Or like really slow. Oh my god. Yeah, okay. So I can be obnoxious now with these things. And yeah. Oh, hello. Yeah, and then all of them, oh my god. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, anyway. So we're gonna have fun with those when the bullshit happens. And I guess, oh yeah, I'm gonna, you know what, I will introduce this, because so on that, okay, new school singer, okay, yeah. And we're gonna have Manuel Garcia. All that stuff is gonna keep going. Of course, we're gonna switch books soon, because Manuel Garcia will be exhausted. I'm not gonna do section 2. But another cool feature we got coming, because new school singing is knowledge, which we're doing a lot of knowledge all the time. We've yet to cover a lot of fitness stuff. I'll get going on that. I've been preparing some. Oh, yeah. So, sorry, I forgot the audio cuts out. Yeah, so I've been preparing some content in this direction of heart, and we're gonna take a look tomorrow, I guess. I'll give this full presentation, and I'll take this away for now. But I've teamed up with a psychologist, and we're gonna do some content specifically with performance psychology, and then, well, also for, I guess, psychology in general and singing. And so I'll be teaming up with Psycho Art, psychological support for artists, and it's a practicing cognitive behavioral therapy psychologist. Anyway, and we're going to be working together with students, I guess. I'll be, shall we say, integrating work in the psychology department. Let me see. Let's get this back to heart. Because I've found that every voice teacher winds up being a psychologist anyway. I guess it's a temptation that nobody is strong enough to overcome. You wind up being a counselor in some ways, or a psychologist. And the students seem to be asking for that, and they sometimes inappropriately. And I think that it would be really good if someone started thinking of this as a core part of the curriculum for singers, is understanding psychology. It's for character development of yourself, but then also for the characters that you sing. If you have some background in psychology, you can use that actually directly on your craft. But then I think it's just also undeniable that singers are performers, and performance psychology makes a big difference as far as results when it comes to performance. Yeah, so that's just an exciting thing to announce, that I'll be teaming up. And I will also be I'll be in Berlin quite a bit this winter, so if you're looking for coaching in Berlin, then I guess get in touch. Let's see if I can get my... Let's see. Where's my... Oh, there we go. So that's the real Mr. Opera at gmail.com. That's where you can get in touch. And then if you've got any suggestions for things to watch on the show, then also send them there. So I think I'll just end there. This has been Mr. Opera, and I guess I'll do my last little fun thing. Oh, wait. Okay, last fun thing.
The energy extends past your limbs and becomes fire.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, hey Ra, I'm gonna finish the live stream. Yeah, I think we're all good. I think he's yeah, he's okay. Yeah. Hey Tony, I'm gonna go eat. I think I've had enough with live streaming for now. But yeah, we've been singing, and I got this. I can do this now, and this, and this, yeah, and this. So that's what's happening, and I can do all of them at once, and but I can't do those and eat at the same time. So I'm gonna go eat. But before I go eat, let's just try this. Oh, it works! But I got two playing.